Hey guys, it's Ken Maxfield, aka the Hide Guy. I am the owner and president of the Maxfield Report, and here is your weekend report for dated on April the 19th. Week started out with Packers having way more offers than they have previously. In fact, some lists were reported to be even double what they were the week prior. As far as asking prices, they were lowered anywhere from $1 to $2, depending on the Packer. The key on that one is even with the adjustment, or the downward adjustment, I should say, the asking prices were still dollars away from where many sources are reporting that there's actual trading taking place. Another big key or a tell on the offer list were the shipping times. Several of the Packers had shipments listed as April. Some said April, May. For me, that's about the same thing because we're only about 10, 12 days away from the start of May. One thing to really note, very few, if any, selections had June shipments. So that right there, folks, tells you they've got a lot of hides. They're looking for homes, and the game is on as far as trying to get out from underneath some of this unsold inventory. As far as interest this week, based on the conversations we had, we would say this may be one of the slowest weeks in terms of interest we've seen in probably several months. A couple of people, and I'm sure they had talked to each other, but they made the comment to me that it appeared all the tanners got on the same conference call and decided that they weren't going to bid this week. But what I really think is going on is if you're a large tanner, you've got Packer A coming to you, hey, we need to do 24, 36 loads. What price can we do? The tanner throws a price. They said, let me think about it. Packer B comes in. Hey, I need to move 24, 36 loads, same selection. What can you do for me? Tanner throws them a bid. Let me think about it. Tanner C comes in, says, hey, I got 24, 36, maybe even 48. What can we do? The Tanner throws them a price, says, okay, I'll book them. So now both Packer A, Packer B come back and say, okay, we'll go ahead and take your price. Sorry, guys, I've already bought it dollars cheaper than what I told you. And that's really what's going on. Put yourself in the spot of these larger tanners. There's no reason to open your mouth. You have so many people, not just from the United States, but from all around the world. They're coming to these guys. Please give me a bid. I need help. We haven't done any business. You open your mouth, you may own hides. So that's why they're sitting on their hands. They're being patient, and they're waiting to see the best deal they can get. As far as the sales for the week, harvest came in 638. I doubt we cleared the production again. That's just going to continue that circle where sales do not exceed the harvest. The inventory continues to build, further pressure on the market, and the story continues. On the cowhide side, similar stories, the big Packers. Asking prices down $1 to $2, depending on the individual processor. Maybe even a little more than that from some of the guys who are asking for way more money than what's actually being traded. Again, shipping times, April, May, nothing for just June shipment. There again, just another tell that these guys too have their own fair share of hides to sell. Interest, like big Packer hides, very minimal. The guys who are coming in and sharing ideas, they're bidding so far below asking prices. Even if they get countered $1 below the original start of asking prices, they're withdrawing their interest. They're taking their ball and going home, basically. So, unlikely we saw the cowhide processors clear their production as well. As far as the harvest this week, we have an identical number to the week prior, 638. That ties to the largest week of the year. For point of reference, 628 a year ago. And we are now running about 104,000 animals above the pace of last year. That's 1.1%. Remember, I've been telling you all along, expect 1 to 1.5% more than last year. At the pace we're going, we may have to move that to 1.5 to 2% higher. And keep in mind, we have one less day of harvest this year versus last year. End of the day, Packers are making about $100, $125 a head. Plenty of animals to harvest. They're going to continue to knock the wheels off the bus, and we're going to see big numbers. So just plan on that. Beef demand is fantastic. Weather's turning great, so we're going to see big numbers. Looking around the globe real quick, our friends in Europe are telling us that a very similar situation to here in the States. Number of producers have a lot of hides for sale. A tell that we've picked up here in the last 2 weeks in Europe. Some of the best hides that traditionally go chilled direct to European tanners are now being offered either in the wet blue or as wet salted. And that tells you when those hides are being offered in the marketplace, things are tough. Still pressure on bulls. Automotive business isn't enough to keep the bulls clean. They continue to experience downward pressure. Cows, similar to here in the States, they're having lots of problems. They can't get enough sold. Ox heifers are doing okay, kind of like the rest of the U.S. selections here. You know, you're getting sales. Is it enough to clear the weekly production? And most people would say no. So lower prices in Europe, some selections, you know, seeing some serious declines. For the most part, a euro or two, but there are some selections that it might be even in the neighborhood of 3 to 5, depending on the selection, depending on the producer. Going down to Brazil, we have lower prices this week on our fresh hides. Those have dipped below that 1 reais level. We have wet blue reports trading at 50 cents. Accusations even lower than that. We're getting to a point where, just like in the United States, there's some selections that aren't even worth keeping right now. They'd rather go to the landfill than lose money. TR maybe 4s and 5s in Brazil, similar story. Why put the chemicals to them to produce them if you're going to get less than the return? So, you keep hearing the same story over and over and over again. Australia. The thing that's saving them a little bit of problems is that the harvest has been a little bit slower the last couple of weeks. Been a lot of rain down there. The Easter holidays, plus they have a national holiday coming up. That's going to keep those harvest levels a little below where they have been. That's not bad news for the guys selling hides because they're in the same situation as everyone else. They got plenty to sell. They're not having enough interest. Tanners are just sitting on their hands. And you know what? There's underlying pressure there. So real quick on the USDA export report, came in pretty near our expectations. Whole cattle hide sales of 389, shipments of wet salted at 422. On sales of wet blue, substantially lower at 94,000. Exports of 165. Total all up, guys, the combined sales falls below the harvest for it would be the 14th consecutive week in a row. The only week we've seen it exceed the harvest has been week number 1. Since then, we have not cleared the harvest. And that's even if you add in the domestic soak. So this overhang of unsold hides continues. That's why looking ahead to next week, you're going to see a similar situation. You're going to see people, salespeople who are panicked, who are anxious, who are pushing, who are wanting to sell huge volumes. Buyers are going to be very cautious as to what they do. If they can find something that makes sense, then it's cheap enough, they'll do it. But here's the story, whether anybody wants to admit it or not. We have more supply than there is demand. Until we can either level supply and demand out, or we can increase the demand so if they get back in balance, that's when we'll stabilize the market. Until that time, we are going to continue to remain under pressure, and there's some difficult decisions going to have to come by some of these folks making some of the lower grade hides because it's getting to a point where they're becoming to have no value. That's it for now. Ken Maxfield, the Hide Guy. Check out my website, www.themaxfieldreport.com. Scroll to the bottom of the page, click on the free trial button. No obligations. Check us out for free for 14 days. That's it for this week. Until next week, we'll catch you again. Bye.